handle it. I just think it requires a lot of discipline and dedication, and like I'm too nice. I think I'd be too nice for that job, and it stressed me out. But so kudos to those people that can handle it, but I don't think I could.
Yeah, I don't. Man, that would be difficult. That would be a hard job to have.
Yeah, be kind of boring too. I think. What you always got to be on high alert to watch people coming by that shouldn't. But yeah, same thing over and over again for 8 hours. Just a bunch of people coming through. That'd be tough for me.
Yeah, and a lot of people they're standing on their feet for that whole time, and yeah, I could see how you could get tired really easily, and yeah, I mean also dealing with rude people going through that don't want to deal with you.
I've always thought there's just as many of those guys walking around in blue shirts as there is travelers. When you when you go through security, there's just good thing. Okay, Michael, let's start with you. What do you think O'Reilly should do about Sanchez?
Oh, I hate these situations. I'm not sure.
Alex.
Honestly, I'm not sure what I would do if I were in her situation because it's so hard because it's like, well, he's a really good employee. He has a great attitude. People love him, but if you're not going to follow protocols, then I mean, you're kind of out of luck, I don't know.
What about you, Amanda? What'd you do?
Well, just with how dedicated he was, like I was just saying, how all these awards and I mean, he just sounds like he's just an amazing worker that everyone should look up to, and he just happened to have that mistake. He was just doing it that one time, and so I don't. Just going off of the discipline without punishment, I think she needs to do the informal planned performance improvement discussion, and I think that would just, I mean, without guilty felt, I think just even that would solve his problem. I don't think making a scene about it or anything is going to really change anything or change anybody else's motivation or anything. So I think just doing that, and then if it happens again, if it becomes a consistent problem, then something major, like something bigger needs to happen. But I think punishment's already in the guilt that he has.
Get that. Welcome, Marnie.
Hey, sorry.
Not a problem.
I don't know if the invite wasn't coming through.
No problem. We've just started discussing the TSA case.
Okay.
And we haven't got too far, so we were just kind of going around and talking about what each of us thought O'Reilly should do about Sanchez. So I'll ask you the same question. What do you think O'Reilly should do?
I have mixed feelings on that. The hard-nosed me says he probably has to be fired. But it sounds like he's a very valuable employee, so maybe they could compromise and maybe, he would have to be demoted to that other position to show senior management that, something was done, but he could work his way back. I don't know.
Okay. Good. I'll share my thoughts as well. I agree with everything that's been said pretty much. At first I thought it was a no-brainer that Sanchez probably should just be given a warning, and I like the idea of being demoted to that lesser position. But I thought about it more. Well, in the case, it talked about how because he let that guy through, the entire terminal was shut down for, what was it, 45 minutes or something like that. So, I mean, I thought that was a big deal if you think about all the travelers and all the airlines and all the problems that that could cause. It's just a big deal, and obviously allowing a potential security breach through. But in the end, I think my opinion was the best way to go about it was to put him in that new role. So I think it's good that he kind of got a slap on the hand, so to speak. And in my mind, that would be punishment enough to have to do that lesser, probably more boring job. But everything else that was said about Sanchez just sounded like he was a great employee. Good dad was the right reasons and was a long-term leader probably on the organization. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, if it was up to just O'Reilly, which I can't really tell from the reading if it is solely up to her discretion, or because upper management wants to make an example out of him, you know, her hand might be forced. I can't really tell.
Does anyone want to play devil's advocate for us and maybe argue why Sanchez should be fired?
Well, to me, it's as simple as, I mean, he was on his cell phone, which was a major, not disobedience, but you know what I mean, like a guideline that he obviously did not follow. And it could be as simple as what you just said, Zach, and that was that luckily nothing serious happened. But what if? And the thing about this TSA job, it's that one time you let your guard down. And I mean, look at how much havoc was wreaked just by what, you know what I mean? It seemed like a minor little thing and it happened so quickly, but I mean, it messed up lots of flights. Anyway, we're not talking just one little person that was affected here. So I think it's grounds for termination, but again, that's the hard-nosed me.
Yeah, I can see that point of view definitely, and I mean, when you think about it as 45 minutes late could make people miss connecting flights, which means the airlines are going to have to reroute customers and possibly put customers up in hotels while they're waiting for their new flight because they got delayed too long, and it could cause some serious financial problems for people, and it could potentially turn into a really, really big mistake.
Yeah, there could be even a lot of litigation involved because, you know, I don't see the airlines just taking it and, okay, we'll pay for that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you want to hold someone responsible.
Good. So, Marnie, your vote is to terminate him then, is that right?
I guess I will be hard-nosed and say yes.
Okay. Michael, are you terminate or different route?
Oh, I don't know.
Offense, huh?
I think I'd be on board with like a performance plan and possibly a demotion.
Okay. And that's where you stand, Amanda, right?
Yeah, I can see the terminating part too, but I just think with how good of an employee he's been and how he's shown his extra efforts in trying to follow that, then yeah, I feel this one-time thing, even though it's caused a lot of problems, he needs to do a performance plan, and then if anything happens ever again in the future, then I'd say look into termination.
Okay, good. So that brings us to the next question, which is, and this was a question on the quiz I noticed, was the security breach entirely Sanchez's fault? Why or why not?
I had a hard time with this. I kind of went back and forth. I'm like, yes, it is, but then I also brought up like how he was working extra shifts and how they try and move people around so that they don't get tired and can make easy mistakes. And so I don't know if that, like, if he was in the same spot for that whole time, or like if people just weren't paying attention to that. So maybe it was their fault, or if there was other people around, like other TSAs or other employees around that are supposed to kind of be the backup for him or something, and they weren't paying attention either. So I mean, I don't know. I don't really know the full. I can't see the full picture of it, but I could see how it could be other people's um, problem too. But I think still the majority of it would be on him.
I agree with that. I mean, ultimately, the real problem I thought in the situation was him picking up the phone, and there was nothing that TSA did to force him to do that. I mean, that was his choice and his only, really, and that was kind of the deal breaker for me, where I said, no, it was entirely his fault.
Yeah, I think you could do the blame game here and try and say that someone else might have been responsible for seeing this person coming. But if I'm understanding the story right, this passenger should have already been cleared prior to getting to this point. Uh, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Um, but still, it seems like, ultimately it was his responsibility to make sure that this passenger didn't get any more.
Okay, good. Next question is, what could, and I guess this question contradicts my opinion, but I can try to think of something. But what could the TSA have done better to prevent this situation? Any thoughts on that?
I think that policies for like him not even having his personal cell phone on him, maybe providing. I'm sure they had radios or something like that. So providing lockers for employees that lock and not allowing them to have their cell phones on their person while they're out on the security floor. That would have solved that whole problem.
It's a good idea.
That's a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's not a temptation.
Yep, because it's ringing in the locker, right? So.
Have you guys ever heard of an employer making somebody lock up their cell phone?
We do it at my work. We don't make them, but we request that they don't have their cell phone with them while they're working on our line. That they leave it in the locker for the same reason, so it's not like ringing in the middle of a dinner rush or anything like that at the restaurant.
So that's at a restaurant.
Yep.
I guess I've never seen a waiter or anything on their cell phone. That would probably really turn some
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, it needs to be secure. I'm sure they could. I think they could institute a policy like that without facing any litigation or anything. So.
Yeah, for a job as a TSA, I would imagine that would not be an issue.
Yeah, the government would be totally on board with that.
Well, and for safety, I mean, for no other reason other than obviously it's a safety issue because it is a distraction to an employee. And this is a prime example of something that can go wrong so quick when you're distracted. I mean, it could be something other than a cell phone, and in this case, it just happened to be that.
Yeah.
I just can't help but feel for those guys how monotonous that job would be. Just
Oh.
8 hours a day.
Yeah, I've
Support,
been
you got
in
your guard up.
yeah, I've been in a monotonous job before, and I was just so tired all the time, just because I was so bored. Like I'd literally just like fall asleep in my chair, which I mean, it'd help if people were like standing doing that, but like I was just sitting at a desk doing the same thing over and over and over again, and yeah, it was not fun. So yeah, I can definitely feel those guys in regards to that.
Okay. Well, the next part of our discussion here looks kind of fun, and I say that somewhat sarcastically, but it's a role play. Supposed to be a role play between Mina O'Reilly and Ludo Sanchez. So, how do we want to volunteer? Do we want to draw names? What do you guys want to do?
I don't even know. Are we role playing the part where the next step? I mean, as far as
Yeah, that's a good question. Role playing where, because at the end of the case, it kind of left where Sanchez was going to come in for a shift and O'Reilly was going to have a conversation. So that's where the role play would pick up. Is first O'Reilly would have to determine what her decision would be, and then just kind of explain it, and Sanchez would obviously react to whatever the decision was. So.
Pretty sure I'd fail at that role.
What's that? You'd fail at that role?
I'd fail it.
Okay.
I'll do whatever you want.
Marnie, do you wanna be O'Reilly and maybe I can be Sanchez? The reason I think that'd be interesting is because I think it'd be a lot harder conversation to have with kind of a termination type discussion, right? I think it'd be a little bit more interesting and maybe a little more spicy. If you want, I'll play O'Reilly too, Marnie, and you can play Sanchez.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to stick with my role here, or my decision that I made earlier.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm really bad at this, so I'm just going to preface that.
That's okay.
Ludo, what do you think she can call him by his first name?
Yeah. Sure.
And
I'll be Ludo.
Okay. So, Ludo, unfortunately, due to the security breach that took place yesterday, I, as well as upper management, feel that this is grounds for termination due to not only the serious nature of this incident, but because of the ripple effect that it had on not only the TSA, but the airlines and let's see, the terminal management. Ludo, could you please share with me your feelings, or you've obviously had time to think about what transpired. Was there an emergency or something that occurred that caused you to pick up your cell phone, which you knew you weren't supposed to use?
Yeah, I've obviously thought a lot about the incident since it's happened, and it's really eaten me up inside. I have to be honest and say there was no known emergency when I picked up the phone. I was just talking to my daughter, and uh, just one of those things that I let slip by, and unfortunately it escalated. And I guess my only question and thought at this time is there anything that I can do to change that decision or keep my job, and anything I can do in order to keep my job.
Well, I wish that I had more say in this matter because I have valued your loyalty to the TSA, and you have proven yourself over time that you take this job seriously, and I enjoy or have enjoyed your interaction with I don't know what to call them, with the passengers that come through this terminal. Unfortunately, this was a rule that was broken, and as you well know, it could have been a lot more serious than it was, and so now I'm feeling guilty that I could never be in this position.
You're doing great, I
I'm the
think.
kind of person that would like totally back down. So anyway,
I had to throw that in and make it interesting.
so unfortunately, I have to take a stand on this issue and dismiss you from your position.
Okay. Well, that was good, Marty. I think you did a good job.
Good job, Marty.
Okay, so I have to ask, after you guys read the other article, didn't that, like, it really kind of changed my feelings about the whole discipline without punishment? I have to say it really kind of changed my view on the way I might otherwise handle situations like this. Granted, I've never been in a managerial position.
Yeah,
So
I love that article. I thought it was perfect for getting good reactions, and I loved the point that it made where it said some, I'm going to butcher the quote, but it said something to the effect that if you reach termination with an employee, it's pretty much because you and your system failed, not because it wasn't necessarily the employee's fault. Just implying that you should be able to rectify the situations and make them better for the most part. I liked that. There's a supervisor at my work, one of my peers, and she kind of wears a badge of honor every time she fires everybody, and she's my friend. I like her a lot, but it just kind of irks me that, you know what I mean? That to me, that's a big failure if someone has to leave and gets fired. Sometimes it's a good thing, and sometimes it's best for all parties involved, but I definitely wouldn't go around wearing it like a badge of honor and proud that I got bad people out of the organization. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
yeah, it does. Because I think some people do have that persona about them.
Well, I just think just taking punishment out, like, it just would bring a whole different attitude to the work environment, I think. Like, just focusing on the positives, like, I think that just changed the work environment all around in any decisions you make, whether it has to do with bad behavior or not. And so I think all around you'd see more improvement from everybody if you focus more on what everyone was doing good instead of focusing on those few bad apples like it was mentioning.
I
Yeah.
agree, because then people are wanting to change their performance so that they can receive the acknowledgement and, all those positive kudos that they would be receiving. Anyway, I personally, I don't see the TSA as having a discipline without punishment strategy. Um, I just can't see a government or homeland security. I mean, in some ways, it'd probably be a really good thing if they did. I don't see it having been implemented, and the article didn't say that anything like that was already in place, so that's part of what led me to be a little hard-nosed about this.
Yeah, it's kind of a serious deal. Not much room to mess around, I don't think, there.
I agree.
I agree. I think it's the environment that it's in is it kind of doesn't allow for mistakes to happen, because what if that guy had been carrying a weapon or something like that? Like that could have been really, really bad. So
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the way I looked at it, was that, yeah, you can say nothing bad happened and it was just an oversight and he'll never do it again, but all it takes, as we all know, is that one person that you let through because somebody let their guard down and it becomes a national crisis. So, I don't know. I just think you have to take every little incident like this probably to the extreme as far as taking it serious enough.
Okay. Well, after all of our discussion, would anyone change their stance, or does everyone feel? I think I stand in the same place. I mean, I've appreciated the other opinions and good thoughts, of course, but would anyone want to change their stance at this point?
I'm sitting on the fence with it, but I think I'm going to stay with what I first brought up.
So yeah, I agree. I think I would probably stick with my stance. I probably definitely would want to let him know the severity of it. Like, look, we're playing with the idea of terminating your employment here. Like that's how serious this is. You need to know that. But at the same time, we think that you've proven yourself. You've done a good job. So we're going to give you a responsibility that's a little bit lower so that you understand that these mistakes can't happen, but with the plan that as you prove yourself again and as you show that you're not going to let these things happen, you could move back up into a role like this one. But you've got to prove yourself, and otherwise you're going to stay in this lower role. So that's what I think my stance would be.
That's what I liked about the discipline without punishment, because they had the idea or the premise that, they had been warned and this was going on their record, but then they were given that time frame, right, of 12 to 18 months approximately. And basically it sounded to me like if they were able to go that time period without any other incident, then basically their slate was wiped clean again. And so if something like this were already in place, I could easily change my stand on this, and I would want to keep a valuable employee that made one little mistake, because I make mistakes all the time. And anyway, I guess it would just, to me, depend on, I'd like more information as to what the actual discipline is for TSA, because obviously they kind of have to, they always leave out that part, right? And what we're talking about, so that we can come to our own conclusions. But if they already have something in place that a warning or a demotion would be more than acceptable, then I could change my position.
Okay. Well, Marty, it's your lucky day because the next part tells us what happened.
Oh, it does. Awesome.
Kind of short, but it says Sanchez got a warning but was not fired. However, 2 months later, he caused another serious breach.
Ooh.
So now the question is, first, what would you do now? And what does this case teach us about discipline? My initial reaction is another serious breach after a warning. It's unfortunate because he is a great employee, but I don't know that there's any other choice now than to terminate him and let him go. And Michael, I think what you said was wise to make sure you, in that first initial conversation with the warning, let him know how serious and severe it was, and then he did it again, had another serious breach, and that's the last straw in my mind.
Yeah, I think it was any other company that wasn't so important that maybe going through that discipline without punishment and giving more formal warnings and like doing the paid suspension or whatever. But I think with how severe this is and how important it is to not screw up, I just think I agree with you, Zach, that it just needed to go to termination after that first one.
Well, I'll jokingly say now that I don't feel so bad. I feel a little more justified in my hard-nosed approach.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's crazy.
Okay.
Was that it?
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Well, we've got the doohickey papers due on Saturday.
Yes,
I-
and
2 weeks.
I'll be organizing those. That's right, since I'm the team leader this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just need to decide what topics we're going to do, and then we'll just give Brent an assignment. He's been doing those, so.
Okay. So it looks like we pretty much have compensation, employee benefits, discipline, and wage and hour laws. Those are our 4 topics. Unless we
Yeah.
want to go deeper.
Ooh, those might be a little. Employee benefits I could see in there. Compensation too. I guess all of them. Yeah, I guess all of
Sounds boring.
them.
It is boring. I'll agree with that.
um.
Although discipline could be interesting.
Yeah, because that one you could go either way. Does the doohickey paper say what state they're in?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Can I take wage and hour laws?
Okay.
I'll take the discipline if no one else wants it. 'Cause I seem to be so mean.
Michael, compensation or employee benefits?
Oh, I don't care. Whichever.
You want to take compensation?
Sure.
Okay, and then Brent has employee benefits.
Okay.
They are in Illinois, by the way.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to make sure that I could like look at the state for wage and hour laws.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do that on, I can't remember which one I wrote about. Maybe it was discrimination. Yeah, I did that a lot actually and looked up the state laws because, I mean, it's very useful and, yeah, applicable in this case.
Yeah. Okay, so is there a specific day/time you want this done by, Zach?
If you could have it done by Friday at midnight, that'd be great. And I usually try to wrap my stuff up Saturday morning, so if that's okay with everyone, that would be great.
That'll work.
I can do that.
And I will just make another doohickey paper and post it
As a Google Doc?
as a Google Doc. That's
Okay.
what I meant.
Folks gonna do hickey.
Yeah.
And did you say that worked pretty well as far as copying and pasting?
Yeah, the only problem I ran into is when I tried to copy the Word into the Google Doc, then it messed up the format. But copying from the Google Doc to Word worked fine. I just changed the font because it's like Arial in Google Doc, and I changed it to whatever the generic is, the Calibri or whatever.
Okay.
So.
Because if
Yeah.
you'd rather Zach, I mean, I could email whatever you want.
Yeah, if you prefer email or whatever, but
No, just post it to the Google Doc. That's fine. And what I'll do is I'll probably export it to Word when I'm editing it, and then I'll repost it back to the Google Doc so you guys can see it on Saturday, and I'll submit it. But any other suggestions you have, we can resubmit if anyone wants to change anything. But I'll get it done.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll let Brett know.
Okay.
So.
And I'll be back up for Brent if it looks like in the darkest hour he's not gonna write, then I'll step in and do his. But
Okay.
maybe I should just have more faith and not even say that. So yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. So.
And then, Michael, do you want to be the team leader next week? Is that right?
Sure.
Okay. I think that's the right rotation.
Sounds good.
Unless we can get Brent to do it.
No doubt it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Work
he's not
schedule
going
just
to.
because
So.
Okay. That sounds good.
All right. Well, you guys have a good week, and I'll get that paper done.
Yeah, you too.
Okay.
All right. See ya.
Thanks,
Good night, guys.
Yeah.